Monbrita remains unconvinced that you have not sustained a head injury. If you ask me, there's not to be gained from mulling over the implications of your story in the freezing cold. Let's save it for the Rising Stones, eh? I'll get everyone to meet us there. But before you do that, you'd best pay a visit to White Brim Front and speak with Alphino. He's probably worried sick about you. That, or he's busy playing at politics with the Ishgardians. Either way, I'm sure he'll be delighted to see you hale and healthy. Speaking of which, you don't have a headache or anything, do you? No? Blurred vision? No reason. See you again soon. There she is, and none the worse for wear. Was there ever any doubt that the Warrior of Light would succeed? I think I speak for all of us when I say I should like nothing more than to hear the stirring tale of your victory, if you'd be so kind. Then we were too late to prevent the summoning. But not too late to prevent further loss of life, an outcome worthy of celebration, and one for which we have Tolucc to thank. Yes, you're right, of course, Sir Aymeric. We should be content with what we have accomplished. I, for one, could not have wished for a better outcome. Shiva is no longer a threat and the heretics have been routed. Aye, there is a matter of Isart's escape, but she cannot run forever. Whether it takes days, weeks, moons, or even years, my knights will find her. In the meantime, Lord Dromont, is the caravan ready? The supplies that your men recovered have been prepared for transport, in accordance with your wishes. Rest assured that my knights will see them safely to Revenant's Toll. Of that I have no doubt. I take it these are the selfsame supplies the heretics stole from the House Fortemps caravan? Less the crystals which comprise the bulk of the shipment, yes. Scarcely a fraction of what was promised, but a meaningful contribution to your cause all the same. Ah, on an unrelated note, Tolucc, might I trouble you to accompany me to Camp Dragonhead at your earliest convenience? 'Tis not for my benefit. A certain lord was most distressed when he learned of your intent to risk life and limb to stop Iceheart. It took half a dozen knights to restrain him, I'm told. Men give vent to their anxieties in myriad ways. Pray, do not think less of him. What were you thinking, Tolucc? Wagering your very being on a dubious theory which might allow you to enter Iceheart's lair, knowing full well that she could have sufficient forewarning to complete her ritual to summon Shiva anyways? And then, engaging the abomination in mortal combat? By the Fury, Tolucc, 'tis the stuff of ballads, a battle for the ages. Would I had been there to fight by your side. Yet here I was forced to wait, condemned to wonder the fate of my dear friend for a veritable eternity. I would not wish such torture on my most hated enemy. But here you are now, and that is what truly matters. Let us move on. Sir Aymeric wished to have words with you and Master Alphino in private. He waits us in the intercessory. Greetings, madam. I shall show you in at once.
On behalf of the Holy See of Ishgard, allow me to express my deepest thanks. Never before have we been required to contend with a primal. Indeed, there were fears in some quarters that our knights might not be equal to the task. From what we have now learned of these beings, I can say with certainty that we would have lost a great many men had the Scions not intervened.
Then the argument for preemptive action should be self-evident. Perchance now you will reconsider my proposal that Ishgard move against Nautalon.
Ere we first met, a similar proposal was tabled, but the Holy See decreed that we were to observe, and that military action should be taken only in self-defense. All things considered, it was not an unreasonable decision. Since the calamity, 2 vigils have fallen to the Horde, while Garuda has never shown any inclination to storm the gates of judgment. Which is why this unprecedented crisis and its resolution may prompt a change in policy. You who have faced these primals know well the threat they pose. Ishgard did not. Not until now. And there is naught like a brush with death to change a man's outlook.
At the very least, this should silence any lingering objections to our arrangement with Revenant's Toll. The Holy See may even feel moved to grant us its formal endorsement.
So far as it is possible, the Scions shall be compensated for their service.
We should be grateful for any aid you can provide.
As a gesture of good faith, I shall withdraw my previous request. Your people are doubtless needed elsewhere.
That will not be necessary. We too have a vested interest in watching Dravania's movements.
I see. Once more, I must thank you.
Sir Emmerich, if I may, do you truly believe that Midgard-Zoma could return?
The heavens are a window unto truth, but those who interpret their movements are not infallible. I requested your involvement as a precautionary measure.
But of course, you sought an excuse to compensate us from the first, mindful of what would happen if Revenant's Toll were taken by your enemies. Ishgard is not wont to aid its neighbors, but that does not preclude it from manipulating them to serve its own interests.
Choose your next words carefully.
Do you know what sort of man becomes Lord Commander of the Temple Knights? One who comes from good stock. I did not. Yet here I am now. Why do you suppose that is? Because I swiftly learnt to tell the difference between words, deeds, and beliefs. You are correct, Master Leveilleur. Ishgard desires to see Revenant's Toll flourish, as it would present a troublesome obstacle to our enemies from the south.
We are so glad to be of use to you.
As we are to you. Ours is a mutually beneficial arrangement, lest we forget, one born of necessity. The dragons grow more restless by the day, and the heretics harry us nigh without cease. We have contended with such troubles for centuries, but there are limits to even our endurance. Yet as a pauper is loath to part with his meager possessions, the leaders of Ishgard are not wont to render up their trust to outsiders. But with perseverance on our part, they may yet be made to see the light. Nevertheless, one must take care when walking the road less traveled.
Wise words, Sir Emmerich. I shall make a point to remember them. I must apologize for my earlier outburst. I hope it will not sour our good relations.
Not at all. You but spoke from the heart. I trust you understand that at times my duties may prevent me from meeting with you. On such occasions, my second-in-command will speak for me.
Lucia, at your service. Pray excuse our reticence. We are but wary of speaking too freely, lest our sentiments be made known to our enemies. Know that the Lord Commander and I are of one mind. For the sake of Ishgard, and of Eorzea at large, I pray our peoples can put aside their differences. Those who dwell in the past risk losing sight of their future.
Should aught befall one of our shipments, pray inform Lucia immediately. You may also relay to her any words you might have for me alone. Not being of Ishgardian birth, she owes no allegiance to any noble house, making her as near to incorruptible as one can find in my homeland. Suffice it to say, I trust her completely, and so may you. Which reminds me, Lord Orchefort, if you would be so kind.
Certainly.
In times such as these, trust is ever in short supply. Mayhap this will go some way to rectify the problem. The results of our investigation into the heretics' recent attacks, as well as our interrogation of the merchant you detained.
Sir Emmerich, I cannot thank you enough.
Think nothing of it. Ishgard may be many things, but it is no friend to Garlemald.
Did I not tell you to have faith, my friend?
For one with reason to celebrate, Alphino looks rather grim. It would seem we have much to discuss with our friends at the Rising Stones. If what you say is true, Isart's method of summoning Shiva defiles all precedent. It necessitates a complete reprisal of the primal threat and of our approach to combating it. Moreover, there are grave ramifications if word of this incident reaches Imperial ears. The Garlean Empire believes that primals are an insufferable menace, that their mere existence is a threat to this very star. As such, they deem any action taken against the beast tribes to be justified by default. Imagine, then, if it became known that it was not only the beast tribes of Eorzea that could summon primals, but our civilized people as well. Any lingering objections to the Ozorian campaign would vanish overnight. Where before we had to contend with a single Imperial Legion, we could well find ourselves facing the combined might of all of Garlemald. But I speak unadvisedly. Come, Tolucc. It is better that we continue this conversation in Mordona.
Words cannot well express how glad I am to see you return to us hale and whole. Needless to say, I am most eager to hear your account of that which occurred in Kurthis, assuming you're ready to speak of it. Excellent. I shall summon the others at once. Iceheart used her own body as a vessel for a primal soul?
Master Louisoix's writings make no mention of such a possibility. Can we be certain this entity was a primal?
As certain as we can be that good King Mogulmog XII was a primal, I should think. Both were ostensibly summoned.
Let's not quibble over definitions. Of more concern is the implication that Iceheart retained her will, even after she was possessed. We are talking about a mortal, wielding the power of a primal.
It can't possibly be that easy, can it? There must be some sort of sacrifice required. Or maybe she's just special?
What qualities this woman possesseth, I know not. But full sure am I that she was groomed for this role. Few are privy to the secrets of summoning, and but a single party standeth to profit from their dissemination.
Well, I wouldn't presume to comment on how the lass came to know about summoning, but I will say that what she summoned was a primal. The readings were the same, or near as damn it. Strange as it all sounds, it's really no different from what you've faced before.
Then mayhap it is time that we re-examined our previous encounters.
Pack your things, Ida. We're going back to Gridania.
Yes, sir.
About Iceheart's final words to you. Hear, feel, think. Hydaelyn speaks to her as well. If Iceheart is blessed with the power of the Echo, she will doubtless have used it to further her goals. Or could it be that it was a revelation granted her by the Echo which first set her on this path? She did say that the Ishgardians were blind to the truth. Do you think she has knowledge of the origins of the Ishgardian-Dravanian War? It would do much to explain her unwavering conviction.
Did not the Lady Iceheart implore thee to seek the Keeper of the Lake? And did she not imply that in so doing thou wouldst come to see with eyes unclouded?
Midgard-Zoma was a king amongst kings who reigned for centuries on end. But he is dead and his wisdom lost to the ages. Unless the Ishgardians' fears are well-founded. It would seem we have yet another reason to stand watch over the Keeper of the Lake. For a mercy, we are well positioned to do so. Iceheart, Shiva, Ascians, and Midgard-Zoma. I shudder to think how they're all connected.
Minfilia would discuss how best to proceed in light of recent developments. I mean to scour the annals for knowledge of Midgardsormr. Given his great age, I dare say he appears in more than a few. Do you hear that? That commotion outside? Would you see if aught is amiss? Tolucc, 'tis well that you are on hand. We have a problem. Roil has escaped. It happened shortly after the immortal flames took her into custody. She had been placed in a dungeon cell ahead of her coming trial, but apparently the accommodation was not to her liking. The turnkey was found slain among the with two guards. 'Tis plain she received inside help. Citizens report seeing Roil quitting the city via the gate of Nald, with a bloodied spear in her hand. She makes for Castor Meridianum, I am certain of it. With her fate in Eorzea as good as sealed, what recourse has she but to flee to her imperial masters? Even as we speak, Captain Ilbert and the First are hot upon Royal's hills. Pray, make haste to Camp Blue Frog and join the hunt. My thanks for coming, Scion. I've spoken with the soldiers here. They say that Roel walked through the camp not a bell ago. Aye, she walked right through. You did not mishear. We have Robin's decision to keep the matter secret to thank for that. Bad for morale, he said. As a result, not a single flame in the garrison made any attempt to detain her, and so here we are. Roel must not be allowed to reach Castor Meridianum. This wretch was with Roel. He threw himself at us, that his mistress might escape. She didn't blink when we cut him down, not even when he started screaming. No loyalty even to her own, the goddamn harpy. With me, Scion, we almost have her. Find her, and do it tight! Yes, sir. Good workmen. She and her Imperial cronies pushed us close, but we were better. Behold, a respected officer of the Immortal Flames. People looked up to you as one of their Order's founding members, one of its pillars. It saddens me to see you fallen so low. And what would you know of low? You, a spoiled little lordling who has never known any want. People such as you take wealth and birth for granted. You think it your God's given right to rule over others. You know not of our plight, the injustice that we lowbornish guardians must endure. To the noble lords and ladies, we are not people, but resources to be consumed. I did what I had to do to survive, stealing, killing, even whoring myself. It is no fault of mine, it fools imagine me as a paragon when I joined the flames. To hear you tell it, one would think you the only person ever to have suffered. In case you have forgotten, Robin himself was born into poverty, as was I. We lived hand to mouth, with little more than the shirts on our backs. Hunger was our constant companion. Yet never did we bemoan our lot in life, nor did we begrudge others their fortunes. We accepted the hand that we had been dealt, and played it to the best of our ability. Life was a battle, but no matter what fate threw at us, we took it on the chin and came back for more. Everything we have, we fought for. How are we any different then? 'Tis true that we were both mercenaries of lowly birth, and 'tis true that we both had our fair share of struggles, but whereas I sold my sword, you, Marshal, you sold your comrades. If life has taught me one thing, it is that you never betray your own. I would sooner cut off my own arm than raise a hand against a friend. But enough talk. You will return to Ula to face justice, and the people whose trust you have dragged through the gutter. Not so much as a hint of remorse. 'Tis well this sordid business is finally at an end. A friend's betrayal cuts deeper than steel. We must hope that we have chosen our own allies more wisely than Robin chose his.
I have heard. Truly bothersome business. No, I do not foresee a problem on that front. The main concern is Roban. There is no telling what the brute might do. Have the Blades watch him in the flames day and night. You may leave the Sultana to me. I shall personally attend her grace. Sever one of the East Aldenard trade routes. That ought to keep Lolorito occupied for a while. Nanamo Ulnamo. For my sake, pray be a good little Sultana to the last.
Alphino would ask another favor of you. Captain Ilbert and I have a few questions for the Flame Marshal regarding the circumstance of her miraculous escape. When we have completed our interrogation, we shall take our findings directly to General Robin, and that shall be the end of it. Your work here is done, my friend, my thanks. But I have one last task for you. Return to the Rising Stones and apprise Minfilia of all that has happened. I am aware that the antecedent have held Roel in high regard. For better or worse, she will want to know how this tale ends.
Welcome back, my friend. I have already received word from Alfino. To think that Flame Marshal Huayu was the Garlean agent. I know not what to say. Together with Robon, Eileen lent us much-needed aid at the time of our Order's founding. She was particularly passionate about the need to tackle the primal threat. When we discussed the subject, her eyes fairly shone with determination. Whatever else she may have been, I choose to believe that it was her true self with whom I spoke then. But now is not the time to dwell on such matters. I have an important announcement to make regarding our effort to defeat the Ascians. We shall begin as soon as everyone is assembled. My thanks for coming, friends. Moonbreeder, the floor is yours.
By now, I'm sure you're all familiar with white auracite, the miraculous material that'll allow us to capture Ascian souls. Back at Snowcloak, we verified its ability to absorb vast amounts of ether. Alas, it leaves something to be desired in the area of stability. The stone can only store ether for a short while before expelling its contents.
In addition to auracite's inherent limitations, we must needs be wary of our enemy's strength. Our foe draweth upon an infinite wellspring of power. Even should we succeed in entrapping him, the stone will not long contain his wrath.
Meaning that, if we want to kill the swine, we'll have to be quick about it.
'Tis our belief that an Ascian soul may be permanently undone, if smitten by a sufficiently concentrated burst of pure ether.
The only trouble is, we can't say for sure how concentrated the burst needs to be. Without knowing how much ether an Ascian soul is composed of, we're basically guessing.
Our sole clue lieth in thy struggle with La Habrea.
During that encounter, Heidelin bid you forge what she called a Blade of Light, a weapon which took the form of a luminous stream of energy. Based on your description, we believe the blade with which you vanquished your foe was composed of ether. Admittedly, your victory proved ephemeral, as La Habrea was able to use a crystal of darkness to flee into the space that lies between our world and the void. The fact remains, however, that Heidelin placed the means to destroy the Ascians in your hands. Be that as it may, it would be unwise to assume that she will do the same when we next encounter such a foe.
Quite so, my lady. We must needs find the means to forge our own blade of ether, one to equal that which Heidelin did benevolently bestow upon her champion.
That is all well and good, but it seems to me that producing such a blade will require a prodigious quantity of ether. Whence will it come, pray tell?
Oh, what if we had 2 pieces of white auracite? One to trap the Ascian, and the other to store the ether for the blade.
Oh, nice try. But it's as I said, the stone won't hold ether for any length of time. We'd still need to collect the stuff there and then, sorry to say.
And therein lies the rub. Finding a way to create the blade whenever and wherever we choose.
Twould seem more research is in order.
I'm going to linger a while, perform a few more tests on the auracite. And I could do with some help. Urianger, why don't you lend me a hand?
Mine apologies, but I am required at the Waking Sands. Lady Minfilia hath given me sole charge of the premises. 'Twould be unseemly to leave them unattended.
Sole charge, you say? So you're basically alone there, then? Well, that settles it. I'll just have to come to you.
While you were afield, word arrived from the Sharlayan motherland. You will recall that a survey party was dispatched to investigate the incident at the Isle of Val. What they discovered was troubling, to say the least. According to the report, the Isle has been erased from existence. 'Twas as if a hole had been torn in the very fabric of reality.
Aye, Yet the mystery endeth not with the Isle's disappearance. It hath come to light that a number of scholars in various other locales were reported missing at a similar juncture.
What's more, they all had something in common with the head of the students of Baldessian. Every last one of them was researching a phenomenon called dimensional compression, or the rejoining as the ancient texts call it. I'll be damned if that's a coincidence.
All indications suggest Ascian involvement, but I sense that a force greater still is at work. The entity the Dark Beings call the One True God. We must pray that my dear friend Kryl regains consciousness soon. If she bore witness to the Isle of Val's final moments, she may be able to shed some light on this mystery.
Following the calamity, the forces of the 14th Imperial Legion entrenched themselves in strategic locations across Eorzea. So swiftly did they accomplish this, it was suspected that they had received help. To think that it came from Huayu, my right hand.
There is more. We have reason to believe that Huayu didn't deal exclusively with the 14th. She also answered to a higher authority in Garlemald. But this higher authority could not have been the Emperor. By consenting to the media project, Solus Zos Galvus showed himself to be more concerned about preventing the spread of primal influence than claiming Eorzea for the Empire. He would happily have seen the lot reduced to ash. We believe a number of high-ranking figures within the royal household were against the decision, but that they knew better than to oppose the Emperor openly. Of course, this didn't prevent them from making clandestine provisions, in which Huayu played a part.
Alas, these provisions did not prevent Dalamud from falling, and the ensuing chaos changed the face of the realm forever. Yet Eorzea survived. To all intents and purposes, the Meteor Project had failed, and the Empire was left to rue its lack of a decisive means to eliminate the Primals. Until, that is, it stumbled upon the Ultima weapon.
Even before the accursed thing was dug up, it seemed to me the 14th had the might to overwhelm our weakened armies. Yet they chose to hide behind their walls. Why?
The Black Wolf was wary of making the denizens of Eorzea desperate, lest more primals emerge to bleed the land. The discovery of the Ultima weapon, however, emboldened him to resume his war of conquest in earnest.
But there was one in Garlemald who believed that Van Belsar's actions were premature. One who stood higher in the Imperial Army's chain of command. He ordered the Legatus to halt his advance, only to find that the Black Wolf had slipped its leash, and that the 14th now acted alone. In a bid to bring Van Belsar to heel, he used the agent he had planted in Ul'dah prior to the calamity to undermine the Legion's efforts.
A man who outranks Van Belsar, yet opposed the late Emperor's decision to annihilate Eorzea. This could only be the former High Legatus of the Garlean army, now known as Emperor Voris Zos Galvus. So he was Huayu's true master.
But one of several in actual fact. We've learned that even as Huayu served the Empire's interests, she sold Imperial secrets to a certain faction in Eorzea. In so doing, she helped to maintain the status quo, thus prolonging the conflict. Considering who stands to profit from war, it isn't hard to imagine who her other masters were.
Seven hells! You mean to say that she was a double agent?
Triple, if you consider her services to Van Belsar and the new Emperor as separate.
As neatly as these pieces seem to fit, one aspect of the puzzle remains unclear to me. The By whose will was the Marshal feeding intelligence to the heretics? And try as I might, I fail to see how aiding their cause would profit either her Imperial or monetarist masters. Could it be that another hand is at work here? If so, why you must be made to reveal whose it is.
Not only have I lost a trusted friend, now I must interrogate her as a stranger.
Not a pleasant task, I grant you, but a necessary one. Unless we weed out the ivy, root, stalk, and stem, it will simply grow back.
I know that full well. Those closest to Huayu have already been detained, and I will question them alongside her.
General, pray keep in mind that there may be unwitting abettors among them.
All will be treated fairly. On that you have my word. Those who are innocent have no cause to fear.
You have ever been a friend of truth, General. I hope the unpleasant task of weeding out falsehood will not detain you too long. Though it be for the sake of Eorzea, doubting one's comrades is poison to the soul. And with that, I take my leave.
All these years, I've been made to dance to their tune. How could you, Huayu? How could you side with them? Those cankers who take from this land and give naught in return, who use their power to disempower and grow fat while the people starve. I know you can hear me, monetarist scum! Your crimes will not go unpunished! Today I will purge this land of your sickness! Before the eyes of the 12, I swear it!
I shall have no further need of you this day. Your Grace. I fear that not even mine own chambers shall remain private for long.
Has the situation grown so grim?
Ever since he proposed the Cartiner Reclamation Bill, Tolucc Adelegi has risen to greater prominence upon the backs of impoverished refugees. The monetarists were ever united in their pursuit of profit, but the man's actions have torn a rift in their ranks. They snap at each other as rabid dogs. Yet now is not the time to be bickering among ourselves.
If this bickering is a threat to law and order, might you not have grounds to dissolve the Syndicate?
Would that the solution were so simple, Admiral. Alas, my moving to dissolve the Syndicate is certain to spark outrage among the influential merchant class, whom the Cabal represents. This would serve to exacerbate the current unrest, and peace would slip still further away. Be they rich or poor, natives or refugees, all who reside in Ul'dah have a right to pursue happiness. It is the duty of a ruler to protect this right. If I am to perform my duty, I must needs tread warily. It would not do to make enemies heedlessly. Were Lord Lolorito here, he would doubtless say that I have my head in the clouds.
A ruler is required to take a wide view. Try as we might to cater to all needs, some will inevitably be overlooked. As such, there shall ever be citizens who feel aggrieved. It cannot be helped. But as you have informed us, the monetarists take no view but their own. They hunger for power while the masses starve. In the absence of a common cause, it seems beyond any one individual to make Ul'dah whole.
And the presence of a Garlean agent within the Immortal Flames only makes matters worse. Even accounting for Uldar's historic reliance upon mercenaries, such a grievous breach of security is unprecedented. I fear this business will provide the Monitorists with a rod to beat Rauban.
Eorzea can ill afford for the immortal flames to be dampened now. Ere long, the Garleans will turn their ravenous gaze toward our lands once more. If we are to resist their might, our nations must stand together. Yet for this to happen, our nations must be whole. Cannot be done to improve the situation in Ulda.
The true wealth of Ulda lies in the health, happiness, and hopes of her citizens. Alas, the citizens shall never know these things, so long as their lives are ruled by the ambitions of the few. The Monitorists claim to represent the best interests of the people, but in sooth they desire only to manipulate them for their own selfish ends. For the government to serve the people, it must be formed of the people. For Ulda to move forward, it is not only the Syndicate that must be dissolved.
Nay, you jest.
My friends, it was for no other reason than to make known to you mine intent that I requested your presence here. When I make my declaration to the people, chaos shall inevitably ensue. As the last monarch in the line of Ul, I make unto you this request. Help Rauban to preserve order and protect the people. Forsake them, and you forsake yourselves. For a strong Eorzea will ever have need of a strong Ulda.
Your Grace, are you certain of this?
There is no other way. When the time is ripe, the nation shall become a true republic. Both royalists and monitorists shall cease to be. Ulda will no longer belong to kings or queens or merchant princes, but to her people. Rauban, forgive me for casting aside all that you have toiled for in my name. Beyond this gesture, I am powerless to help my subjects.
Minfilia is considering which of her many responsibilities demands her utmost attention. I am most eager to address the Ascian threat. However, we dare not neglect our other pressing concerns. We both know full well that Saint Shiva will not be the last primal we face, and our relationship with Ishgard is still tenuous at best. To think that the resolution of the primal threat was once the sole priority of the Signs of the Seventh Dawn, some days I wonder if it was wise for us to take on so many other responsibilities. Lest you forget, antecedent, the Signs need not shoulder the burden alone. Were not the Crystal Braves established for this very reason? True, we are presented with a multitude of problems. However, we have all the resources we need to address them in turn. Tolucc, in particular, is ever a steadying hand, who I trust will continue to support the Braves. To what do we owe the pleasure? Have there been further developments regarding the situation in Ulda? As expected, the Immortal Flames have been struggling to cope with the revelation that one of their highest-ranking officers was a Garlean agent. Suffice it to say, Tolucc Adeleji and his Monorist ilk have wasted no time in attempting to turn the situation to their advantage. Coupled with ongoing unrest, the Flames are finding themselves hard-pressed. Plainly, General Rauban needs our help, and I will direct the Crystal Braves to offer what support they can. If I am to stay abreast of the latest developments and issues of effective orders, however, I cannot afford to waste time traveling back and forth. And so, for the foreseeable future, I think it would be best if I were to remain in Ulda, unless you have an objection. None whatsoever. We have matters here well in hand. Monbrida's research is proceeding as planned? So she tells me, though I'm not familiar with the details. Urianger is poring over his tombs in the waking sand, and the others are contributing in their own ways. Alas, the key problem, how to form an ethereal blade at will, remains unsolved. Nevertheless, it is only a matter of time. Tolucc, while we focus on that task, mayhap you could assist Alphino and his braves with theirs? It would do much to restore faith in the immortal flames if the Warrior of Light was seen working with their behalf. Never forget that your esteemed status allows you to act in ways that those more tightly bound organizations and nations cannot. As ever, I implore you to do so. Not that your response was ever in doubt, but I humbly thank you once more for aiding our cause. Now then, there are preparations I must attend before my departure, such as receiving Riel's latest report. He has proven to be quite skilled at gathering information others wished kept secret, hence why I placed him under my direct command and ordered him to investigate the Old End riots. When you are finished here, join me outside. Depending on what he has to say, I may soon have a favor to ask. If there are any developments on our front, I shall inform you at once in the usual fashion. Pleasure as always, Tolucc. You'll be escorting the commander to Ul'dah, I take it? Actually, I had another task in mind for her. If you'd be so kind as to repeat your report for her benefit. Right then. Me and mine have been making inquiries into the source of the weapons that found their ways into refugees' hands a ways back. So happens we caught wind of something promising, a rather large purchase of sharp and pointy things by a black marketeer holed up near Highbridge. I doubt that this man would have secured such a quantity of weapons if he had not already had clients waiting. Clients that, for whatever reason, would prefer for this transaction to remain secret. Brings to mind that merchant what caught an arrow while talking to Tolucc, don't it? Generous fellow he was, doling out swords and spears to the downtrodden and disgruntled. Which isn't to say that these clients have the same mischief in mind, but if you wants to be sure, might have prudent to intervene before they collect their goods, savvy? Seizing the weapons before they fall into the wrong hands would be for the best. However, if we strike at the appointed hour, we might capture the black marketeer as well as its clients. What say you, Tolucc? Then it's settled. Rendezvous with Captain Ilbert at Highbridge and intervene when the exchange takes place. Now then, if you would excuse me, I must leave for Ul'dah. I expect good tidings. Ah, Tolucc. My scouts have been keeping a close eye on the Black Marketeer, and it would seem that his guests have arrived. It would also seem that he's hired more than a few men to stand guard. Common thugs of no consequence, but they nevertheless pose a threat. Even so, I feel compelled to apologize. This is far beneath a woman of your standing, and Commander Levalier didn't need to dispatch you hither. But powerful men even have need of loyalty, able-bodied friends. Having found one in you, 'tis only natural that he would come to rely upon you without hesitation. Ilbert is eager to bring the Black Marketeer and his clients to justice. Now then, we should make for the burning wall without delay and secure those weapons. The first unit will ensure that the clients do not escape. With me, Tolucc. I spy the one man, but there are sure to be others. I have a plan. While you approach the sentry and create a distraction, my men and I will slip past and catch the Black Marketeer unawares. Once you've disposed of the thugs, wait for us outside the tunnel entrance. Any questions? Then let us be off. Good luck, my friend. Who goes there? An adventurer? Damned fool, you should never have come here! I don't understand. What's this all about? Yeah! As you can see, this is a fine mess. When I tried to restrain him, he drew a hidden blade and lashed out. But before I could disarm him, one of my subordinates panics, and this is the result. How foolish of me to underestimate the bastard and bring an inexperienced recruit. Commander Levalier will be most disappointed. Damn it all, a golden opportunity wasted. As for the clients, though we know not how, they slip past our perimeter. At present, the first is currently tracking a party of Duskwhite sellswords we suspect may be them. Would that be... We could have enlisted the aid of the Immortal Flames or the Brass Blades. Alas, we're here to aid them, not in no position to aid us. Well, at the very least, we have secured the weapons, yet even that accomplishment is lacking, for the information we received indicated a massive shipment, and this is anything but. Ilberd would like nothing more than to have this incident forgotten. I'll be joining the first in their hunt for the Duskwhite sellswords. If the gods are good, we will catch them before they escape into the Black Shroud. In the meantime, I ask that you deliver these weapons to Ulda in my stead. Entrust them to the third's Yu Hase. He'll take care of the rest. Ah, the Warrior of Light, ever reliable friend of the Crystal Braves. You have my deepest thanks for your assistance in Coerthus. Now, what brings you to us this day? A gift of weapons from a certain Black Marketeer, courtesy of Captain Ilberd, you say? Understood. Once we've cataloged the contents, I'll have them delivered to the Hall of Flames. This cannot be everything, can it? Real stated with confidence that there would be a far greater quantity of weapons. A blatant falsehood. Clearly Real is unfamiliar with the ways of olden merchants, whoever strive to present themselves as greater than they are. We should be thankful that his information was not completely erroneous, and that we managed to achieve anything at all. It's still something worth celebrating, isn't it, Lieutenant? Besides, we've got more important things to worry about, like fighting those Garleans up north. There'll be no fighting if I have anything to say about it. Our orders are to stand watch, not to seek glory in battle. If you have no further need of us, then I shall take my unit to the cerulean processing plant. Time for the fort to earn their keep, eh? Fight well, Alalian, for the freedom of all. Excellent work as always, my friend. Rest assured that the immortal flames will hear of your contribution. Until we meet again. Tolucc, a word, if it please you. Not here. Look for me at the Sapphire Avenue Exchange. No need for whistling this time, don't you worry. Thanks for indulging me request. Few places better than a market for privacy, I find. All the hustling and the bustle of commerce means most conversations go unnoticed. I'll get to the point. At the Burning Wall, when you and the captain interrupted the exchange, what happened? Tell me everything. Leave no detail out. That's not quite how the first told it. These Duskwights they were chasing, latest word is that they were lost the trail. But you never saw them yourself? Not before the fighting started and not after? Something ain't right. I don't know what it is, but I can feel it in me bones. I'm not daft enough to be misled by some merchant's drunken boasts. Our information was reliable, goddamn it. I know he purchased those weapons. As if I never deciphered a moneylender's books, or had to follow a transaction back to its source. Did plenty of that back when the Braves were getting started, believe me. The commander wanted assurances that we weren't taking Gil from the wrong sort of benefactors. Of course, these days the money flows like water and the first and third get as shiny as new toys. Forgive me, friend, I have a lot on my mind these days, and I appreciate you lending me an ear. Right then, best get back to it. Tolucc, can you hear me? It's Tataru. Your presence is urgently requested at the Rising Stones. Please come and see me as soon as you're able. Thank you for coming so quickly, Tolucc. We have a guest from Ishgard who wishes to speak with you. A most, determined lady, by all indications. Tataru seems eager to escort you to the Solar. Our guest is within the antecedent in the Solar at the present. Let's not keep them waiting any longer, shall we?
We have a guest from Ishgard who wishes to speak with you. I believe the two of you have met.
We have. I had hoped to speak with Commander Leveilleur as well, but I cannot afford to wait any longer. The Lord Commander sent me hither to request your aid in a matter of grave import.
You see now why I had Tataru summon you.
Now that we're all assembled, perhaps you would be good enough to elaborate on the nature of the matter which brought you to us.
The Observatorium's astrologians have sounded the alarm. Last night, the Dragonstar burned with an intensity not seen in 15 summers. Not since the Dravanians engaged the Empire in the Battle of Silvertear Skies.
The northern sky doth burn full bright upon the Wormlord's call. The red behemoth beckoneth, and flame consumeth all.
The old Curthan rhyme, aye. The brightening of the dragon's die is said to accompany the roar of a great worm. The astrologians believe that it was Midgard-Sormr himself who cried out on this occasion.
After an absence of centuries, the King of Kings did return to lead his kind against the might of Garlemald, only to fall in his duel with the Agrius, proud flagship of the Garlean fleet. Devoid of life, his corpse remaineth entwined about the Magitech monstrosity even unto this day.
Ariange has the right of it. Whatever this alteration in the Dragon Star portends, the Great Worm has shown no sign of life. Tataru, have the Domans reported aught out of the ordinary?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if Midgard-Sormr had roared, wouldn't we have heard it here in Revenant's Toll?
Roar is but a figure of speech. Dravanians can communicate in ways beyond our ken. It is for this very reason that we are forced to look for signs in the heavens. We cannot say with any confidence that a great worm roared at all, much less that it was Midgard-Sormr. Only by directly examining the Keeper of the Lake can we be certain. However, it will take too long to gain the Holy See's approval to dispatch the Temple Knights. Therefore, Sir Emric would entrust this task to you. Do you accept? We knew you would not disappoint us. Now, if you would excuse me, I must return and assist the Lord Commander. We have precious little time to prepare.
To prepare for what, pray tell?
When a great worm roars, his brethren cannot choose but answer. We prepare for battle.
Forgive me if I state aught which you already know, but I would ensure that you understand the nature of your destination. As Ariange stated, what we now call the Keeper of the Lake is the wreckage of the Aeorgeus, former flagship of the Imperial fleet and the corpse of the worm responsible for its destruction. 15 years ago, as the next step in his campaign to subjugate Eorzea, Gaius van Balsar attempted to seize control of Mordona. So massive was his force that all thought his victory a foregone conclusion. But an unlikely ally came to Eorzea's aid that day. Midgard-Sormr, legendary guardian of Silvertear Falls, burst forth from beneath the waters of the lake and led a host of dragons against the Agarlian airships overhead. In what would later be known as the Battle of the Silvertear Skies, the Great Worm felled countless airships before engaging the Agrius. In the ensuing struggle, the flagship's Cerulean engines failed, and it was tumbled into the lake below. Yet this victory came at a great cost, for the explosion which followed claimed the life of the Great Worm as well. That same explosion transformed Silvertear Falls into the desolate wasteland it is today, draining the lake of its waters and crystallizing aether from malms around. Yet a remnant of the lake remains, and at its center, a constant reminder of that fateful day long ago. In accordance with Sir Amric's wishes, our Doman allies have been standing watch over the Keeper of the Lake. It would be wise to speak with them before investigating the wreckage yourself. Be careful, my friend. We know not what dangers await you within. Now then, let us not neglect our own tasks. There is much to be done, and precious little time to do it. You're in luck, miss. I was about to send word to Remnant's Toll about the Garleans. Of late, I've seen small airships, likely from Castam's Sentry, come and go from the Keeper of the Lake, though I cannot say for certain at this distance. I believe they may be salvaging something from within the wreckage. The Castrum supply lines have been cut off for some time, and I'd wager they're desperately in need of spare parts and other equipment. So it's true then? The Ishgardians honestly fear that the worm might rise again? Well, from here, that seems rather unlikely, but if it's an assurance they want, you have no choice but inspect the corpse in its entirety. Easier said than done given the creatures which inhabit the wreckage, and the aforementioned Garleans who won't take too kindly to your presence. They're sure to fire upon an airship, so I'd advise a more stealthily approach. Take this boat and a few of your comrades to the base of the Agrius, then climb to the top. That's the only viable approach, I'd say.
Who treadeth now upon my bones, and waketh me from slumber sweet? Thou hast forgotten the face of thy lord. Remember, mortal, and fear me. By her gifts hast thou earned a moment's reprieve. Speak, mortal, and I shall listen. Guided by a star. My people have heard the song. Ishgard shall burn. Sons must answer for their father's misdeeds. We do not forget. We do not forgive. Seven children did I sire. One now singeth of retribution. I rise to join in the chorus. Thou art powerless to silence us, mortal. Yet thou shalt not live to labor in vain. Thy reprieve is at an end. Trickery is thy shield. This frail, ignoble creature is not gifted, but chosen. Hearken to me, Hydaelyn. I remember, and I consent. Fear not, mortal. I shall not harm thee. Mayhap thou thinkest me an oath breaker. Thou art mistaken. If thou comest to harm, it shall be by another's hand, not mine. I did but strip thee of thy mistress's feeble blessing. Thou didst profit much by her grace, but no more. The covenant binds me to thee. shall watch, listen, and wait. Fight and struggle, if it be thy will. Man hath ever coveted that which lieth beyond his grasp. I drink of her body, and thence doth mine own find new life. When it hath grown whole, the loyal and penitent shall rejoice. The dragon song heraldeth our beginning and an end.
I was beginning to fear the worst. Were those explosions I saw? But you shouldn't waste time talking with me. Alphino left a message stating that you had returned to the Rising Stones at once. Praise the 12 that you are hale and whole. I came as soon as Minfilia informed me of Sir Amaric's request. You have completed your investigation of the Keeper of the Lake, I take it? Then I would hear your report. You converse with Midgard's I swear, were there anyone else to make such a claim, I would regard it with considerable skepticism. Are we to understand that the Worm Lord did not perish, and he has sooth lain dormant these past 15 years? Less a resurrection and more a rejuvenation for he who dwelleth in eternity, years passing as moments. Though his words were ambiguous at times, one statement left little room for interpretation. My people have heard the song, Ishgard shall burn. Clearly, an attack is imminent. We must share this information with Sir Amaric immediately. However, we dare not divulge your conversation with Midgard's in its entirety. To even acknowledge that you heard the voice of a Dravanian is a grave but necessary risk. Lest we forget, men have been executed as heretics for declaring as much. For your own protection, and for the sake of our tenuous relations with Ishgard, the truth cannot leave this room. As for how we shall present our revelation to Sir Amaric Emissary, you may leave that to me. Pray, remain here for now. Is there something you're not telling us, Tolucc? You seem different, somehow. 'Tis almost as if you are missing something important. 12 for Fend. Midgard's stripped you of the blessing of light? Are you alright? How do you feel? I see. It is a relief to hear that you were otherwise unharmed. It beggars belief that any could possess the power to deprive you of her blessing. Midgard's made mention of a covenant, did he not? One of the ancient myths regarding Silvertear Falls states that when the waters came into existence, so too did the Great Worm. Althaic and Nimia, brother Time and sister Fate, decreed that Midgard's ever watch over the source from which all water, and magic, was said to flow. I wonder, what if this was the covenant of which he spoke, and 'twas not the gods with whom he treated, but Heidelin herself? Well, if he is watching over you as he claimed, mayhap you will have an opportunity to ask. Let us keep this matter to ourselves. I do not wish to burden our friends needlessly. Art thou a pawn or master of thy fate? What hast thou wrought by thine own hands, mortal?
My friend, I can scarce believe it. You confronted the Worm Lord and lived to tell the tale. I give thanks to Helone for your preservation. It is our sole cause for gladness. Your encounter with the Keeper of the Lake served to confirm our fears. A great worm has roared, and it makes little difference if it was one of the two in Eorzea or any other. The Dravanians are coming.
I am told that Ishgard has magical defenses against Dravanian attack, though I am not privy to their exact nature. Will they be enough to repel a massive force?
Ishgard has weathered countless assaults over centuries. This will be no different. And now that you have confirmed the threat, none can ignore the Lord Commander's calls for the wards to be strengthened. I dare not presume to speak for him, but I expect the Lord Commander would sing your praises. I must away, but we shall meet again soon.
Countless assaults weathered, and this will be no different? Why am I not convinced?
The Ishgardians have warned that the Dravanians for centuries, nay, nearly 1,000 years. In all that time, not once have their enemies breached their defenses, and the entered the city proper. Yet regardless of how strong these magical wards may be, I nevertheless fear that the Ishgardians are underestimating the gravity of the situation. Though it was not Midgardsormr who roared, a call to arms by one of the First Brood cannot be ignored. Until such a time as they choose to request our aid, however, we can do naught but observe the situation at a distance, and pray that our fears are unfounded. Alphino has a message from Monbrita for the signs. Ere I forget, I believe Monbrita has requested a gathering of the signs. I assume there has been some progress concerning our efforts to combat the Ascians. Pray inform her that our business with the Ishgardians is concluded for the moment. I shall be along once I have completed my communication with the Crystal Braves. All done with your talk of dragons? Wonderful, because Ascians are next on the menu. Let's head into the Solar, shall we?
Now that everything's calmed down a bit, relatively speaking I mean, I thought it might be a good time to share our progress on the weapon. I believe we're on the verge of a breakthrough.
Well, don't keep us all in suspense.
Just in case anyone's forgotten, let's start by reviewing what we already know. So, an Ascian is an immortal because its soul doesn't return to the ethereal realm when its host is defeated. Instead, it flees to the place that lies between our world and the void. Therefore, the first step to permanently defeating an Ascian is preventing its soul from making this journey. And if you recall, when we last gathered here, I had verified that white auracite has adequate capacity to entrap the beings, albeit only briefly.
Which left the small matter of their extermination.
Aye. To unmake an Ascian soul, one must needs smite it with a concentrated burst, or blade, of purest ether. However, we wanted for both the data and the means to forge such a weapon.
Short of experimenting on an actual Ascian, you see, there's no way to gauge how much ether its soul is made of. As such, we don't know what etheric density our blade needs to have in order for it to work.
So we'll just have to make the densest blade we can and hope for the best. Though that would require a lot of ether. Hang on a minute! Why didn't we think of this before? White aurosite can hold an absolute heap of ether, can't it?
Please tell me you're joking. God's sakes, Ida. I feel as though I'm reliving the same scene over and over with you. How many times do you need to be told that white aurosite cannot store ether for long periods? Being intangible matter, ether is given to dispersion. Only in its crystallized form is it a stable source of energy. I will test you later on this, so see to it you do not forget.
Right, yes. It's all coming back to me.
So our hopes rest on good old crystals again, do they? While they are certainly reliable, they leave something to be desired in the area of portability.
Indeed. I am reminded of the quantity of corrupted crystals required to thwart Leviathan, and the extraordinary lengths to which the Lamentsons went to transport them. What if it should prove that a similar quantity was needed to destroy an Ascian soul? Or still more?
I do not envy the poor sod who has to lug all of that around, on the off chance that an Ascian appears.
That's the very problem we set out to solve. And I reckon we've found the answer. If it isn't practical to lug around the ether we need, we'll just have to draw upon another source. And the only viable source is the land.
If you mean to tap the Great River of Ether, know that it will entail considerable risk. Meddling with the currents may well induce a surge like to the one which despoiled Mordona.
Give me a bit more credit, will you? Why would we need to tap the river when there are veritable reservoirs jutting out all over the land? Aye, I speak of corrupted crystals. It might be that their aspect is out of balance, but a crystal's a crystal. It contains ether, and we can help ourselves to it.
While corrupted crystals are indeed abundant, there is no guarantee that they will be in close proximity at a crucial moment.
But what if we don't need them to be? What if we could tap their power from afar? A malm away, say? If we could do that, we'd have ready access to ether aplenty in almost every corner of Eorzea. I've yet to put my theories to the proof, but I've got a good feeling about this. If no one has any objections, I'd like to see where this avenue leads.
If you think it worth your while, you have my blessing. But tell us, what are your theories? I, for one, am most eager to understand the process, however vaguely.
I thought you might say that, but no one wants to listen to boring old theories all day, do they? I know I don't. So with your permission, I'd like to try something a bit more hands-on. I've already built an etheric siphon especially for this purpose, and I've been meaning to try it out. Thing is, the profusion of corrupted crystals in Mordona makes it something of a high-risk testing ground. If anything goes awry with the siphon, it would be better if it didn't happen within spitting distance of quite so much ether. Ideally, I need an isolated specimen. Does anyone know where I can find one?
May I suggest northern Thanalan? There you will find corrupted crystals of middling size, standing a reasonable distance apart. Ideal for your needs, I should have thought. Oh, and if you do elect to visit the place, I should be much obliged if you would assist me in another matter while you are in the area.
Has something happened?
Movement has been observed at Castrum Meridianum. During Operation Archon, the Alliance dealt the stronghold a heavy blow. Its facilities were extensively damaged, and its garrison reduced to a fraction of its former strength. Not long after our forces withdrew, however, their ranks were replenished by reinforcements from Castrum's sentry. They now seek to rebuild, and to this end they have their sights set upon the ceruleum processing plant. Having lost the Empire's support, the 14th Legion lacks the resources to sustain itself. To them, this is a bid for survival, and they will doubtless fight like desperate men. Though I have dispatched the Crystal Braves, I fear their strength alone may not suffice to stay the Imperial assault. I would request the Scion's aid in the defensive effort.
If I didn't know better, I'd say you were trying to inveigle us into fighting your battle with the promise of shiny crystals. Well then, consider me inveigled. I won't lie, the crystals you speak of sound perfect, so the Garleans have to go. Besides, we can't afford to beat about the bush. There's no telling when the Arceans will next appear.
Thine eagerness to hurl thyself into the jaws of danger cometh as little surprise. Exercise due caution, I prithee.
Though you have become a Crystal Brave, you are yet a Scion, Alphino. We could hardly refuse you. Pray, join the Crystal Braves and lend them your support. Thangred and Papalymo shall accompany you. Ida and Y'shtola, in the meantime I would have you assist Moonbreeder. Scout out the crystal clusters, that the testing may commence as soon as the Garlean threat has been eliminated.
If it please you, I shall continue mine own experiments on white aurosite.
Thank you, Urianger. Everyone, pray see to your preparations and depart as soon as you are able. Go well, and be safe.
Twould seem that events have once more conspired to rob us of rest and recuperation. Though I would wish it otherwise, I must ask that you head straight away to the processing plant. The 4th have already deployed to the area and await the arrival of the signs. Wilred will brief you on the developing situation. Meanwhile, I must rendezvous with Captain Ilbert at the headquarters in Ul'dah. I shall take command of our forces there with a lighter heart, knowing that you go to support the front lines. Your duties take you to northern Thanalan, do they not? We too must say our farewells to the Rising Stones for a time. Falamin travels to Ul'dah, and we shall serve as her escort. At my daughter's behest, I go to contact certain old acquaintances in the Gilded City. We are beset on all sides by civil unrest and imperial machinations, threatened by primals and troubled by dragons. We need all the allies we can muster. Many of my friends hold positions of power, you see, and it is my hope that they can be convinced to aid the Scion's cause. If past events have taught us anything, then we know that Eorzea must present a united front or we shall fall. Ah, how extraordinary that my little Asilla is involved in such far-reaching affairs. I am proud that I might now stand at her side not only as a mother, but also as a colleague. A colleague with influential connections, but I fear that Ul'dah has become a place of danger, even for one so familiar with her streets. Bah! Woe betide the black guard that so much as glares in your direction, my lady. Haha, I shall be well protected, it seems. Shall we be on our way, then? Commander Levalier sent word that you'd be coming. A veteran of your talents is most welcome. Not that I don't think we can handle the situation, mind you. I've learned a trick or two since that disaster with the Amalja. But returning to the task at hand. The Flames reconnaissance scouts have reported Imperial soldiers assembling at Robin's Push. Such a force is likely interested in only one thing, getting their hands on the resources found here at the processing plant. The Garleans could begin marching on us at any time. Pray, speak with Lieutenant Edelstein that we might coordinate our counter-strategy. In the meantime, I'll inform the others that you have arrived. No doubt it'll be a welcome tidings. Captain Goro, my soldiers yet tell tales of your deeds during Operation Archon. Would that we could sit a while and reminisce about old times, but I fear more pressing matters require our attention. The civilian draughtsmen, you see, have come across several highly suspicious crates within the boundaries of the processing plant. I had my sappers take a closer look, and our worst fears were confirmed. These boxes contain powerful explosive devices. Devices of Imperial design, no less. By my order, the Flames stationed here are conducting a thorough sweep of the compound as we speak. Though it troubles me to say that we were unable to apprehend the Imperial spy behind this, I have faith that our men will be able to neutralize the threat for now. In the meantime, our scouts bring troubling news on the latest movements of the Imperial Army. I would once again ask for your aid. Lieutenant Edelstein wishes to share a report with you concerning the Garlean's movement. We've been keeping a close eye on the Garlean garrison, and it would seem that the Imperials have finally begun to mobilize. According to the reconnaissance report that just came in, the squad seem to be leaving the castrum, are too few in number to effectively take and hold our position. They will likely mount a swift assault and focus on the acquisition of resources. I have, of course, also shared this report with the Crystal Braves. They've decided to take to the field and meet the assault head-on. I've appraised your fellow Scion of the situation, and I'm heartened to know that they will be joining the effort. Pray, report to Lieutenant Alanane, and lend your much welcome strength to the counteroffensive. Glad to have you with us, Tolucc. As I am sure Lieutenant Edelstein has explained, the Garleans have deployed a small force from Castrum Meridianum. Their main column assembles to the north near Dalaman's Talons, but we've also spied several Scrawds attempting to conceal themselves on the approach to the west. They wish to rush forth and commit battle on the main column, leaving us detached force free to raid the plant and pillage supplies. Not much of a strategy, but these are desperate men. Captain Ilbert! Greetings, Scion. I understand the commander bids you and your fellows come lend a hand to the Braves. With such mighty heroes at its disposal, the force should have little trouble contending with the odd of the Garleans might throw at them. But even now, you cannot be everywhere at once. The Third was getting restless holed up in Ulda, so I marched them out here to fill any holes, and the plant's defenses and add their numbers to your counterattack. The reinforcements are welcome. We have enough soldier now to divide our own forces and safely engage the enemy far beyond the walls. Aye, 'twould be best to avoid staging the battle anywhere near this much Ceruleum. Let's take this fight to the Garleans. A wise course indeed. I shudder to think of the consequences should any of these storage tanks be exposed to fire. If there are no objections, the Scions shall join the Fourth and give battle to the main column. You're with the Third then, Warrior of Light. Your job will be to intercept these squads hiding out in the west and prevent them from reaching the processing plant. When you're ready to proceed, report to Lieutenant Yuhase. His scouts should have a rough idea of where the Imperials have concealed themselves by now. A pleasure to be fighting at your side once more, Scion. Our operations invariably succeed when you're around, and victories are wont to pave the road to greater coin. Now, this detached force we've been sent to eliminate has split into smaller squads, the better to conceal themselves within the terrain hereabouts, I imagine. We'll need to split ourselves up as well to cover more ground and make sure we root out all these would-be raiders. And seeing as you're an army unto yourself, I've assigned you your own areas to scour clean of enemy soldiers. Aye, this will be a simple search and destroy. We'll rendezvous back here when the task is done. Happy hunting, Scion. You seem grim, Scion. I'll take that to mean that between us, more than a few Garleans won't be making it back to the castrum. These Imperials, though, they certainly made us earn their pay. I'd be a happy man if I never had to tussle with another of those Magitech horrors. It is time we bid this war-torn land farewell. I'll contact the 4th and let Lieutenant Alian know that west is clear for now. I would appreciate it if you would do the same when you report to Lieutenant Edelstein. Captain Goro, what news of the Garleans? The raiding parties are no more then? Excellent. The Amalja engineers will be most relieved to hear that the plan is no longer in any immediate danger. Thank you again for your assistance. Lieutenant Edelstein appears concerned for Monbrida's well-being. You must be anxious for a word of your fellows. Lieutenant Alian has reported a sound victory over the main column and informs me that the Scions have already returned their attention to other duties. All but one, that is. The rogue-bin lady with the large axe? So it appears she has chosen to remain at the site of the battle. I don't know what task keeps her from returning to civilization, but Northern Thanalan is no place to wander alone, even for a capable sort such as her. I'd certainly feel better about things if you can go check on her before you continue on your way.
Hold on, I won't be a second. The beast seemed peckish, so I gave it a taste of my axe. I know. As Urianger never tires of reminding me, an axe ill becometh the hand of a scholar. What can I say? I like axes. To hear my mother tell it, I came into this world holding one. And it's not as if it stopped me picking up a quill, is it? I often think of the man who introduced me to the joys of learning. He's one of the reasons I decided to come to Eorzea. Him and my excruciatingly stiff childhood friend. Considering how unalike we are, it's a wonder we ever got on. The world's a strange old place, isn't it? Aye, that ought to do it. So far, so good. At these concentrations, it shouldn't matter too much if something goes awry. Just enough ether to make it interesting. Did you see that? The way the crystal glowed? The siphon works, I'm happy to say. With a few refinements, it should satisfy our appetite for ether, which just leaves the small matter of forging our blade. I'm not sure how to go about it just yet, but I swear to find a way. I'll put a blade in your hands if it's the last thing I do.
She senses me. A useful talent.
Hanassian, are they onto us?
By your brand, I see you are an Archon of Sharlayan, keeper of knowledge, seeker of truth. Meddler.
I don't know what the hell's you're saying, but I don't much like your tone.
Your instincts serve you well. But come, be not unsettled on my account. That lovely brow was not made for frowns. But I waste my breath. Let me direct my words to one who understands them. We meet at last, warrior of light. I am Nabriales. And you have long been a thorn in my side. I suffered the overweening presence of La Habrea that men might host the power of gods, only for you to undo my hard work. do settle down. You must concede that I acted in self-defense. But what's this? I do not sense the blessing of light. Oh dear. Could it be that frail Hydaelyn has forgotten her champion? This I did not foresee. Shorn of light as you are no longer a threat. And better yet, the seal is broken. Now is the time to claim the staff. With it in my grasp, I shall rise above them all and take my place at Lord Zodiac's right hand.
What did that bastard want with us? Nabrialis, he calls himself. With charm like that, I'll bet he has maidens falling at his feet, unconscious. But this staff, you say just talking about it had the bastard grinning like a brat on his name day. Must be quite a staff. Oh, gods. He means Tupsimati, Master Louisoix's staff. Minfilia's in danger. We have to get back to the Rising Stones.
You're here. Master Louisoix's staff is kept in the solar, isn't it? Quickly now.
You two.
So, you were able to divine my intent. What now, warrior of light? Ah, but that name is no longer fitting. You have become decidedly dull, and quite incapable of barring my entry.
What do you mean?
You truly do not know? Then I suppose it is only right that I enlighten you. The blessing of light kept you and your fellow meddlers safe. It was that which prevented my kind from entering your domain. My kind, I say, though it had no power over the likes of Elidibus and La Habrea. Being of this world, they could come and go as they please, while I could only look on. But I need look no longer. Now that the seal is gone, I mean to act. Unlike the others, I am not given to waiting. I shall take that staff and bring about the next rejoining.
Rejoining? Then it was your doing. The Isle of Val, the scholars, all of it.
You will not harm her!
Moonbreeder!
Why must you insist on forcing my hand? Did you learn nothing from our last meeting? Ah, but I forget. My words fall upon deaf ears.
The staff is but a broken relic, a memorial to the departed. What possible use could you have for it?
What use? You mean to say that all this time you kept the key, never knowing what it was you possessed? The staff Tupsimati, or rather the stone tablet it bears, is host to a great power. Together with the horn, it can be used to draw vast quantities of ether from its bearer's surroundings. How else do you think Louis Soir was able to invoke the power of the 12 without making them an offering of crystals? Summoning requires not only prayer, but a profusion of ether. Even a child knows that.
If I did not know before, you may be certain I do now. But above all, I know that we cannot allow this staff to fall into your hands. I will die before I let you take it.
Insufferable woman. I would happily end your miserable life here and now. Alas, Elidibus would never let me hear the end of it. Very well. If you will not part with the staff, I will take you too.
After them! Quickly! Before the rift closes! You're safe. Thank the 12.
You may have bested me this day, but what of the next? What of all the days to come? Remember, light no longer holds sway here. I may return whensoever I wish, again and again and again. Eventually, you will falter, and the staff will be mine. Until next time, scions.
There will be no next time. This is the end.
What trickery is this? No. No! Cannot! No!
Use Tube Samati to gather ether. Quickly, before he breaks free! Concentrate! Call to mind the time you struck down La Habrea with the Blade of Light. Why won't it work? Is it because we lack the blessing of light?
Damn it. So much ether. And it still isn't enough.
Fools! No mortal prison can contain me! I shall make you pay for your insolence!
Please, Mother Heidelin, hearken to our plea. Lend us your divine light. Why can you not hear us? Do our words no longer reach you?
If only we had a bit more ether.
Moonbreeder, what are you doing?
Master Louisoix, I understand now. The choice you made. In death, there is life. Farewell, Urianger. You daft old coot.
Moonbreeder, no! You mustn't!
What? No! It cannot end! I am eternal! I am immortal!
Moonbreeder. She's gone. You did it, my friend. The Ascian is dead. This device is a legacy of Moonbreeder's toils and sacrifice. I shall hold on to it for safekeeping.
Minfilia, are you all right?
I am.
Oh, we were surveying northern Thanalan when we received the distress call. We returned as swiftly as we were able.
It seems you have everything in hand, however.
What happened here? Where is Moonbreeder?
She gave her life to temper the Blade of Light. I have no words.
Rather than await the inevitable, she took her fate into her own hands.
Does Ariange know?
My friend, there is something I must tell you.
I heard all, my lady. The moon sinketh, taking her leave of the heavens, yet her passing heraldeth the coming of a new day. Moonbreeder hath fulfilled her destiny, hath she not? Long ago, far across the seas in the Charlayan motherland, Moonbreeder and I did study under the sage tutelage of Master Louisoix. Full oft did he impress upon us that knowledge existeth to serve the greater good. This sentiment, however, was contrary to the nation's policy of neutrality, which censured intercedence in the affairs of foreign lands. In spite of vehement opposition, he founded the Circle of Knowing, and journeyed hither to the heart of Eorzea. Through his noble sacrifice was the realm spared its doom. Yet this great soul, whom all should rightly have honored, was branded a pariah in his own land. His peers did accuse him of forsaking his duty as a man of learning, and of meddling in the course of history. When he left Charlayan behind, Master Louisoix gave no word to signal his intent to Moonbreeder. Close as they were, as master and disciple, she was deeply wounded by the sudden exclusion from his confidence. Above all, however, she was confused. Try as she might, she could ill comprehend her master's motive. The slanders that were heaped upon him after his passing served only to inflame the turmoil within her. For years upon end, she knew not what to believe. Torn as she was twixt the man whom she revered and the man who forsook her and his duty both.
The Louisoix I knew would never forsake his duty, much less one of his own.
This I know full well, my lady. 'Twas not for want of love that Master Louisoix hid his intent. He but desired that Moonbreeder discover her own path, free of the shadow of his influence. Long did I contemplate revealing the truth to her, and long did I hold my peace. After all, was it not Master Louisoix's wish that she come to the truth unaided? I told myself it was, and resolved to let her suffer. Knowingly did I deny my friend the comfort she craved. And now she hath gone to her rest, with doubt still in her heart. Speakest thou in earnest? Did Moonbreeder truly come to understand Master Louisoix's will before the end? The realization hath set her free. She may now find the peace which hath for so long eluded her. Oh, Moonbreeder, my dearest, how I shall miss thee.
Moonbreeder gave her life that we might possess the means to defeat the Ascians. Her sacrifice must not be in vain. Let us continue her work on the Blade of Ether and see it to completion.
My lady, I would mourn Moonbreeder in mine own way. I beg your permission to return to the Waking Sands.
Of course, my friend. Take all the time you require. We shall be here should you have need of us.
Never have I seen Uringer so utterly defeated. No one should be made to suffer such grief. We shall gather in the Charlian Manor to celebrate Moonbreeda's life and mourn her passing. Minfilia wishes to gather the signs and honor the fallen Moonbreeda. As Moonbreeda was native to Charlian, I feel it only fitting that we gather there before the Mark of the Scholar. Are you familiar with the stone? 'Tis a monument found at Rutherfrost and is sacred to Thaliak, guardian of deity of the City of Learning. There shall we pray for our dear friend's soul, and bid her a peaceful return to the light of the Mother Crystal.
Forgive me, Moonbreeder. Had I been quicker or wiser, but I was not, and you paid the price. But you would not suffer us to wallow in our sorrow, would you? You would tell us to pick ourselves up and get on with it. And so we shall. We shall defend this realm and her people to the last.
Life for death. A fair exchange. Other bargains will be struck.
Though we have said our farewells, the pall of sadness has diminished but little. Forgive me, as antecedent 'tis my job to be the pillar of strength for all others to lean upon. Yet I also believe the grief we feel now is precious in its own way, and not to be lightly swept aside. Do you not agree, Tolucc? Tis as if a dagger has been thrust into my breast. But 'tis a pain we must learn to bear if we are to forge ahead with our duty. The battles we have fought have taken the lives of so many. Louisoix, Moonbrita, our fellows at the Waking Sands. Their spirit and dedication to our cause, however, will never be lost as long as we rise to fight once more. I hardly need remind you of this, of course. 'Tis for my own benefit that I repeat these words, a reaffirmation of mine own chosen path. If I do not rebuild the foundation of my resolve, I am like to collapse in a fit of weeping. My apologies again, Tolucc. There is no other to whom I could display such weakness. You are my pillar of strength, and I fear I shall have need of your steadfast presence in my days to come.